There's an echo in the canyon, a reflection on the sound. When I'm really looking, I can hear you all around.
Здравствуйте. Очень приятно познакомиться. Когда я был студентом,
Ja, tu šaču.
да, конечно.
Una nisam jaja.
О, хорошо,
Udea veličasib et strani.
хорошо. Oh, oops. Oops. We're not in Russia. We're in America. Oh, we're in Westbrook.
That it is.
Stephen Watson, I am so grateful to you today. Oh, and will be for years after today's show.
Or moments,
Oh,
maybe
moments.
as short as moments.
Shortest moment. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being our special guest.
Thank you, thank you.
And I have the most filled heart I've ever had with gratitude, and it is for many things. But most of all, it's for the love and kindness and communication from our furry friends. It's a show on furry friends, all sizes, shapes, and 4 legs pretty much, although there are a couple of 2-legged chickens who may show up as a
chooks.
cameo. Yeah. They would be wonderful and welcome, but mostly gratitude is our theme, and the deep love that it engenders when you're grateful. I'm grateful for the show. I'm grateful for the volunteers who are here. Captain Mike, the composer of that intro music that we had.
So band leader. Band leader. Yeah.
Band leader. Lyrics that touch my heart in that one. And then Michael J. Hey. And Laurie, who will surprise us a little later. And of course, Emily, who's got her finger on everything. Wow. And Anne-Marie, who is going to keep me honest today. We're all set to go.
Nobody's keeping me honest, right? Good. Okay, then I'll stay.
Yeah. And poetry, the honesty of the heart, the eyes of the heart. You brought a few things, and I'm so grateful. I like this. A name, please?
I don't know what the name is yet.
Okay.
We just adopted this, but it reminded me of Saki, we have pictures of Saki here, and he's passed. He was my teacher. I keep both of these pictures in my studio where I teach, and they're on. I have 2 rooms where I teach, and I have one of each of these in a room, and one of them's on the wall of my other teachers who are human, but he's right at the top.
Saki was big,
Yeah.
very big in your life.
Yeah, extraordinary, an extraordinary.
Well, that's who brought us together, because you
Yeah.
read a poem, recited it actually, from the heart about the passing of Saki, and it touched my heart deeply. The emotions which you really put on your sleeve that night in a brave way. I was very touched with the way you brought him back to us.
Yeah, I think the honest heart, deserves windows without curtains.
Yeah.
Not let me look my best, or let me not cry, or let me tweak it and edit. Let's bare the soul, as they say.
Do you have a poem or 2 or 3 about that? The distinction between appearances and reality. So much about poetry is about a deeper or a higher level of sentiment, meaning, but mostly feelings. Today's show is a show about feelings.
Yeah.
not so much ideas, cerebral generating, but feelings. Poetry is really, for me, music and emotion, much like the song that Mike composed.
Our band leader, Mike, you mean?
Our band leader, Mike, standing right there,
Trying to make that happen.
basking in the sunshine of a beautiful, beautiful creation.
Yeah, I have quite a few poems that kind of speak about, truth with a lowercase t and truth with an uppercase T. And the idea being that, what we call truths are generally as unresistant to erosion or live as illusions that will one day be pierced, and kind of stand those in contrast to what I'd refer to as the capital T truth, which I don't deign to point the direction to or describe accurately or anything, but holding out the idea that if there might be some sort of absolute truth or actual truth, then a lot of the poems are talking about that, where there's a difference between what we feel and what we think. And much of my teaching is about that idea that, our feelings, not just emotions, but sensations, are an early avenue to understanding. And as we age, particularly in society, culture, language, that stuff gets rubbed out, like a river washing sharp river stones. Thank you, yeah. And so when we have an opportunity to relearn that there had been another way of being, such as through, practices that I teach, or poetry, for example, then we have an opportunity to say, oh yeah, I already know this language. Like I came with this language pre-installed. Like before I learned English, for example, or Russian, or faux Russian, as we were.
Faux Russian, that's what we were doing.
As we were doing, yeah.
The language of the heart. I would like to open with a couple
Yes.
of poems from the heart,
Please.
from Mary Oliver's heart. And Emily may have a poem that I'm doing it, Anne-Marie. Oh, yeah. She doesn't have this to put up, but if you are holding this book from
Dog songs.
Dog Song,
Mary Oliver.
Mary Oliver, thank you, from the library. If you're holding this book or any other, as you said so well, Mary Oliver poems or collections, you may not agree, you may not care, but if you are holding this book, you should know that of all the sights I love in the world, and there are plenty, very near the top of the list is this one. Dogs without leashes. Oh yeah! Running on the beach, where I walk 3 times a week, with the pooches running wild, except in high summer. Every dog's song. I have a bed, my very own. It's just my size, and sometimes I like to sleep alone with dreams inside my eyes. But sometimes dreams are dark and wild and creepy, and I wake and am afraid, though I don't know why. But I'm no longer sleepy, and too slowly the hours go by. So I climb on the bed where the light of the moon is shining on your face. And I know it will be morning soon. Everybody needs a safe place. Imagine a dog's feelings in words from the dog's point of view. The creative imagination of a poet that allows that. Several other poets come to mind who can do that. I'm waiting for the one who can do that with a donkey, though.
I may just be the ass you're looking for.
We have a poem about an ass. And this is the time. We're ready. We're having a cameo.
How about that?
Perfect. And that's the nature of the show.
I dig it. I dig it.
Don't you dig it?
The question is, which hat will she wear?
I don't know.
That is.
She may
that
be
is.
hatless.
The audience at home
kind of
is
hoping that, I think
this one.
Or not the straw one.
The straw. All right. The audience at home, had been
know what
anxiously
you're gonna get.
waiting. Here you go, Larry.
All right. You never know what you're going to get on this show. Sometimes you could be behind the camera. Sometimes you are a guest. So, today's poem is Kerr's ass, not to be confused with his donkey. Kerr's ass. We borrowed the loan of Kerr's big ass to go to Dundalk with butter. Brought him home the evening before the market, an exile that night in mucker. We heeled up the cart before the door. We took the harness inside. The straw stuff straddle, the broken breeching, with bits of bull-wired tied. The winkers that had no choke band, the collar and the reins. In Ealing Broadway, London town, I name their several names. Until a world comes to life, mourning the silent bog, and the god of imagination walking in a mucker fog.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Pacing was like perfection.
As stunning as my hat.
A straw hat with straw in the poem.
There we
It was
go.
perfect.
There we
Perfect.
go. Well, thank you for that opportunity,
Thank
Frank.
you, Lori.
That was
You
special.
may come back in the second half.
I'm going to tend to my camera now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good choice of hat. You bet.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was really fun.
That was so much fun. Yeah. Here's us. The thing is, Ireland challenges you with its special vocabulary. And Mike was talking earlier about his trip coming up, the 30th of April. He and his wife are going for, I guess, 10 days. First trip for him. And his family is about 2 hours due west of Dublin. So you're on the way to Galway. Oh, you gotta go, man. Any Irish poems in your background?
Maybe half of them, because I'm half Irish, so I would
Fantastic.
expect that they're all half Irish, but I have never been. I spent much of my travel opportunities going to Asia to, continue my studies and teachings there. But I do feel like there's something preternatural
Oh, yeah.
in me that responds to the rolling green, the hills. Like when I've been out to like wine country in California, it plucks a bowstring somewhere in me that I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's something to that in my family's history. But I haven't been to Ireland, so I couldn't say.
Well said, though, in terms of the preternatural, the special quality of the Celtic imagination, not to be missed in the first place. This is a gentleman, John O'Donoghue. He died fairly young, 53, 54. This book is a book of blessings, he calls it, but it's really a book of poetry because his musical ear, his Celtic musical ear, is so strong that he can't help but put anything in writing that is not a poem. It is poetry, even though he calls them blessings. This fellow is and you'll enjoy the picture on the other side of this.
And what is a blessing but, an opportunity to offer another way to view the mundane, right?
Oh, great.
And isn't that what poetry is? So
That is
it feels
exactly.
to me that even save for the intent to bless something with a poem, I mean, are you not blessing you're attempting to bless the subject of the poem or acting as some sort of benediction in the offering of the words, like it has a feeling to me of sanctifying the profane.
And the miracle in the detail, the simple morning beauty, which he captures here in a lot of poems. Actually, the theme of our gratitude is really embodied in what he says for celebration here. Now is the time to free the heart. Let all intentions and worries stop. Free the joy inside the self. Awaken to the wonder of your life. Open your eyes and see the friends whose hearts recognize your face as kin. Those whose kindness, watchful and near, encourages you to live everything here. See the gifts the years have given, things your effort could never earn, the health to enjoy who you want to be, and the mind to mirror mystery. As Mary Oliver says in one of her perorations after reading, you must leave the door open to mystery. Again, that echoes the Celtic sensitivity.
Is it the mind to mirror all mystery? Is that how that ended?
It is the health to enjoy who you want to be and the mind to mirror mystery.
Mirror mystery, yeah.
The deep mystery.
The opening line to Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching is the talks about the gateway to all understanding, the gateway to all mystery. The mystery of mysteries, the gateway to all understanding. And it puts it right in the beginning as like we are about to embark on 81 poems of philosophy of an attempt to explain the world or whatever, to state our worldview. But at the very beginning, the idea is not to violate mystery. Like that's to be preserved. But the scientific mind often wants to challenge mystery. It wants to explain it, wants to understand it. And
measure it.
Right. It's like you can't swim in a body of water that reflects the sky. Right? Like by being in the water, you disturb the surface, right? So I can't be in that perfectly reflective surface. By being in it, I change it, right? And so that's that kind of Heisenberg challenge that we have.
I'm glad you brought him up because it's the one phrase that I remember from a sign on one of the posters in a local restaurant about the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Yeah. I'm going to ask you to just pick at random any page.
Jaunty, is this okay?
That's jaunty,
Okay.
man.
Pick at random.
Any page in his book, just so you know the feel of
I'm
it.
open to a blank page.
And-
so this is the Zen poetry addendum.
And tell us who.
So this is John O'Donohue.
Yeah, and what does it say at that empty page at the end about him?
It says all and nothing about him on the empty page. So I've opened to a random one. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah. Is it a blessing?
I can't tell, but yeah, it's called Axioms for Wildness.
Oh, that's one I wanted to hear. Yeah.
Alive to the thrill of the wilds, meet the dawn on a mountain. Wash your face in the morning dew. Feel the favor of the earth. Go out naked in the wind, your skin almost aeolian. With the music inside, dance like there's no outside. Become subtle enough to hear a tree breathe. Sleep by the ocean, letting yourself unfurl like the reeds that swirl gradually on the sea floor. Try to watch a painting from within. How it holds what it never shows, the mystery of your face showing what you never see. See your imagination dawn around the rim of your world. Feel the seamless silk of the ocean womb you in ancient buoyancy. Feel the wild imprint of surprise when you're taken in by your lover's eyes. Succumb to warmth in the heart where divine fire glows. Axioms for Wildness, John O'Donohue.
Synchronicity works.
With mystery.
That's the other poem I was going to read to
Really?
you. Honestly, I mean, come on.
Wait, it's printed on every page in here. That wasn't random. You've tricked me.
There's one poem
There's just one poem.
in the book. Yeah. That's so stunning to me.
That was quite the read. Wow, that was a new to me poem, Axioms of Wildness. I would like to read that again later.
And some of your own poem. Please
Yeah.
grace us with.
Okay, I brought this one. I was organizing some poetry today. I call my writings poetry, P-O-O-R.
I noticed your email.
My email is poetry at Gmail, so anybody who wants to reach me. Poetry, poartry at Gmail. Because I don't think it's for me to call anything a poem that is my own, but I'm happy to call it poor. Right. Which isn't necessarily negative.
No.
Right.
And beautifully humble.
Yeah, so sometimes a poverty of words can get the point across. Although this, so this kind of just starts with the cat, and I was organizing, I saw this, and it started with the cat, like literally the first two words. So I thought, well, maybe I'll read that, and I don't remember what this one is, so we'll all find out together.
We will.
Yeah, it's weird that all the volunteers have left when we started it. It is odd. I mean, the cameras still have red lights, but they've all just stormed off quietly.
Well, I have news for you. Our viewers
Are also storming off?
last 15 minutes most. I've checked with everybody in my retirement community. They're all over 80 like me. And they say, Frank, the first 10 minutes. And then we start to nod.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then it's like, off they go.
That makes sense. Here, I'll put on a color that'll keep them awake.
That's hopeful.
The cat woke me today with the slightest of needings, a muffled, near urgency to go outside and see. And I leapt back to bed to enfold myself in folds of nestings for restings, but in truth, it was a retreat from what I'd not yet advanced towards. The cat failed to rouse me in any complete way. 'Twas but a hiccup of my nod up when I creaked from bed, slid the slider open, cooed a word or two, which I maybe hadn't really meant, and leapt back to bed. Sunrise came and colors spread. I'd guess for, as I've said, I didn't look to see, or in truth, I didn't open at all my eyes. And the small hand arced, and the heliosphere arced, and my story did not arc. I slept away the morn. But the sunrise stayed. For me, for hours the sunrise stayed. A heavy hollow gray had hung above, a damp blanket dampening the dreams of the awake, swirls of slow-moving gray and white and black, blotting out the sun, the sky, the light, the day. But the sunrise stayed. Improbably, irrationally, the sunrise stayed there in a sheaf of yellow pressed down against the treed horizon, pinned down by despondency, by gray, by a winter's weight, by snowfall accumulations of cumulus and gray and dayless daytime. That yellow stayed. The hand arced round. The cat came back. The bed grew cold as improbably rose to my staggerlings, my feet, my back, my mind. The sky was heavy as worry. The colors expunged would have to wait for another day without weight. A grayless, grumpyless, gracilaria day. And yet, improbably, and the cat can confirm, or would confirm if they had cones. Do they have cones? I think they mustn't. They have a surfeit of rods, but if they did, he would. Well, he might confirm, but then a cat wouldn't deign to confirm or help in any purposeful way. On any day, whether gray or gold, a cat would not reply or ask. A cat would never ask, but the cat did see. Years he saw. The yellow wedge of light pinned to the edge of earth for hour upon hour, not the usual 20 minutes of art we sometimes happen upon at either end of a gray cubicle and career day. So the cat saw but didn't notice, didn't draw meaning, phlebotomy meaning from the scene, but it was there, I was. For through the morning, the sunrise stayed, a pale offering of yellow, a dandelion in a field of gravel, insistent, persistent, and seen by me, newly woke. And then it rained. And through the rain, yellow, still bright, still light, and the puddles grew, and the shoulders scrunched, and the umbrellas ploofed, and the ducks tittered, and the wheel hands tightened, and the gutters gurgled, and the yellow stayed, still yellow, still bright, still light, and then it rained, and then it rained, and then it rained, and now it's raining. Good morning, dear day.
Wow.
And that is why you should not let your cat sleep in the bed with you.
And the musical quality of your poetry in the voice, out loud, spoken word, the alliteration, the H, repeated and repeated. Marvelous.
Thank you. I don't
It's
have
the
much
music.
room. I don't have much room in my life for rhyme. You know, it feels like a constraint and I'm rebellious by nature.
Exactly.
But alliteration is stronger than gravity for me.
That's the answer, man.
I like that is. I just want to. I want to do that.
I heard it.
Yeah.
It sang. And I think it's my first indication. Oh, pay attention here.
Oh yeah, interesting.
It's just how the ear perks up. You know, and if it ain't musical, for me, it ain't poetry.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, that's as close as I get to musical with poetry, right? You know, sometimes I'll try and write lyrics, but I don't write music, so
Yeah.
that's about as far as I get.
Yeah, and I'm thinking right now of Captain Mike's song, which we're going to hear at the end too, of the poem. I'm feeling a need for a break.
Okay.
So I'm going to anticipate the sign that says, you know, the half-hour moment is here. I'm going to anticipate that so I can change hats. That hat. The cat in the hat.
Yes.
Yes, the cat in the hat. Oh, yes. So, Emily, if you're listening, we're going to take a break.
Here's my continuity pose. I'll be exactly here when we come.
Public Education and Government Access TV, or PEG, has continued to serve Connecticut for over 30 years, connecting communities with local information, entertainment, education, and a transparent source for local government meetings. During this time, we've earned the trust of our communities. We're different than commercial media. Public access stations are not a network. They are publicly funded organizations that serve each of the 169 cities and towns. While some stations are operated by cable companies, almost half of the stations in Connecticut are managed by local nonprofit stations, like the one in your community. In fact, PEG stations are some of the last independently owned and operated TV stations in the country. Large and small, rural and urban PEG stations reach both cable and internet customers in Connecticut each year, with hyper-local content that educates, informs, and inspires, and that reach extends beyond the screen. Local stations are active members in the community, working with families and educators to prepare children for future success, bringing attention to state and local issues, and playing a role in healthcare and veterans affairs. At PEG, we view our audience as residents, not as consumers. We deliver award-winning, local community programming, such as documentaries, science, history, sports, cooking, and arts to our audiences, when, where, and how they want to watch. Since PEG's founding, federal support and state funding legislation has always been the cornerstone of what makes this possible. A fee is assessed to cable companies on each customer as they use public rights-of-way to reach billable customers. This fee is passed on to fund PEG. Every year, PURA reviews PEG funding, performance, and community engagement. Each station has a unique budget that includes legislatively mandated funding, individual donations, as well as revenue from other fundraising and grant sources, fulfilling the vision for a public-private partnership. But no matter how much fundraising for stations in rural or underserved communities, funding dollars can represent more than half of their budget, and without it, they won't survive. And communities across Connecticut will lose access to this essential service. PEG stations are making a difference, strengthening communities, improving lives, and serving all residents in Connecticut.
Perfectly.
We are back. And it's
Russian,
not-
in Russian, please.
In Russian,
Right,
sorry.
right. We have viewers we've just cultivated in Russia.
Как хорошо, что нового. Очень приятно познакомиться.
Новосибирск.
Да,
Das.
Да.
Das.
здравствуйте. О, отлично. Молодец. Oh, right. This is in America we are now.
Если бы только я.
Oh, wasn't that fun though? It was fun. So I'm not the cat in the hat. Oh no, I'm not.
Cat in the Hats.
But there's something about the echo, the cat in the hat and the cat in the hat. You know, that's the music, right? For the children? Right. So speaking of children, how wonderful. How wonderful to be a young boy with a puppy dog. Oh. And we have a special guest coming back. And it's the most wonderful, wonderful sentiment and feeling for all the children who are getting ready to go to bed. But not yet, because there's a poem here. I can hold that.
That would be great.
All right.
This is a very interesting story about a boy and his dog as they travel through life together. The boy gets older, the dog grows older, and it's a story of not so much mourning the loss of a dog, but it says here, this book is not a mourning of loss, but rather a gripping celebration of love.
Yes.
And if you've ever had a pet, no truer words were said.
As you have, and as you expressed so deeply.
So this is a story about Elfie, the best dog in the world. We grew up together, but Elfie, he grew much faster than I did. I loved resting my head on her warm coat. Then we would dream together.
Thank you for showing those pictures.
This brings me back to my teaching days.
I'm sure it does. It's beautiful.
My brother and sister loved Elfie very much, but she was my dog. Every day, Elfie and I played together.
Yes.
Elfie loved to chase squirrels and to dig in my mother's flower garden. Sometimes my folks would get very angry with Elfie when she would get into mischief, but they loved her, even when they scolded her. The trouble was, they never told her. They thought Elfie knew that they loved her. The years passed quickly, and while I was growing taller and taller, Elfie was growing rounder and rounder.
Oh, yes.
That's what happens when we feed them.
Mine too. Mine too.
The older Elfie got, the more she slept, and the less she liked to walk. I was getting worried. We took Elfie to the vet, but there wasn't much he could do. Elfie's just growing old, he said. It soon became too difficult for Elfie to climb the stairs, but she had to sleep in my room.
Absolutely.
Of course.
He's carrying her up. He can hardly lift her. He can hardly manage. But definitely back to his.
There's a will, there's a way.
And there is.
I gave Elfie a soft pillow to sleep on, and before we went to sleep, I would say to her, "I'll always love you." I knew she understood. One morning, I woke up and discovered that Elfie had died during the night. We buried Elfie together. We cried and hugged each other. My brother and sister loved Elfie a lot, but they never told her so. I was very sad, too, but it helped to remember that I had told her every night, "I'll always love you."
Oh, thank you.
Not done yet.
Not done yet.
A neighbor offered me a puppy. I knew Elfie wouldn't have minded, but I said no. I gave him Elfie's basket instead. He needed it more than I did. Someday I'll have another dog, or a kitten, or a goldfish, but whatever it is, I'll tell it every night. I'll always love you.
What a mature little boy.
Yeah, it's a good story.
And those pictures at the end, there's a parrot, and there's a cat, and there's a goldfish, and you're so good at this.
Possibly an ass.
You've done it.
Well, thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you. That was a joy.
Thank you.
Microphone? Got it. Oh. Now are you ready to tell your story about your black lab? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no,
not today.
it's too long. We don't have
It's
enough
too
time
long.
for
No,
that.
No, but it touched me.
But I always told him, I love you every night.
Did you?
I
really?
did. I
Thank
did.
you for that.
And he was my running buddy.
He was your running buddy.
Yes, he was.
How about it?
I'm going back to my camera.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And what I say to my two great-grandsons, even though they can't hear me or understand me, one is 2 and the other's 3, and they're in southern Ohio, is I love you just the way you are. Don't change a hair. Just the way you are, I love you.
That's an important message.
Oh, that's the one, isn't it? We are going to pull up. Emily, dear, would you pull up the poems so that we can show them on the big monitor? And the first one,
You want a hat for this?
yes, the first one is The Way We Said Goodbye. Wow. So this is a poem by Mark Vince, and it is the Poetry Foundation. And I was struck by this because it's bittersweet and also a little acerbic and so strange in its diction. Thank you for the hat. So many years later, the old dog still circles, head lowered, crippled by arthritis, nearly blind, incontinent. We repeat the litany as if we need convincing that the end is right. I'll get her an ice cream cone if you'll drive her to the vet, my wife says. So there we sit on the front steps with our friend, and in the car, as always, when she senses the doctor's office drawing near, she moans and tries to burrow underneath the seats. What remains? The memory of how she taught us all the way we need to learn to live with wasting. There we sit together one last time as all that sweetness slowly disappears.
I'm thinking that there is a foreshadowing with the ice cream cone. All that sweetness disappearing, either melting or being eaten or both.
Bravo.
Right?
Bravo. Man,
Like, wow.
that's poetry, right?
Yeah, that's extraordinary.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, I feel like I can see the dog through their eyes there, you know.
Amazing, really. How short it is, really, and the emotions are contained. As an aside, the first stanza fully could describe me shortly, and a few short blinks of the eye of the universe. You're so nice you pointed that out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the mechanics of poetry and the structure that sometimes captures our interest too. We're going to go on to Dog by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. And
Thank you.
this one I'm not going to read in its entirety because it is, it's a kind of, what would an artist say, pastiche, a kind of pasting of different moments into a kind of composite picture, but not really linear or in any narrative sense of the sometimes poems.
An unassembled jigsaw puzzle.
An unassembled jigsaw puzzle. How beautiful that image is. Thank you for that image.
You want to share a little reading? You want to read a line or
I
two?
want to share it.
We'll ping pong.
I would much rather
The viewers can vote whose voice they
I'm wearing the right hat.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
wearing,
no,
I'm
my
wearing-
hat fell.
Your hats are flying off,
This
man.
is why I keep spare hats always underneath my hat.
And you're looking at just the right angle because the camera can
Trying
capture
to
you.
keep the
You have
shadow
the
out
right-
of the eyes.
And I'm going to ask you to read about down
Yeah, I'll read a bit. And
Cats and Cigars or Pool Rooms and Police.
Okay.
About 2/3 of the way down.
this is called Dog by Lawrence Ferlinghetti.
Thank you for speaking up.
The dog trots freely in the street and sees reality, and the things he sees are bigger than himself, and the things he sees are his reality. Drunks in doorways, moons on trees, the dog trots freely through the street, and the things he sees are smaller than himself. Fish on newsprint, ants in holes, chickens in Chinatown windows, their heads a block away. The dog trots freely in the street, and the things he smells something like himself. The dog trots freely in the street past puddles and babies, cats and cigars, pool rooms and policemen.
He doesn't hate cops. He merely has no use for them, and he goes past them and past the dead cows hung up whole in front of the San Francisco meat market. He would rather eat a tender cow than a tough policeman, though either might do. And he goes past the Romeo Ravioli Factory and past Coit's Tower. We're going to cut the poem in half because that captures pretty much the dog freely roaming. Wow, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, City Lights Bookstore in San Francisco. Oh, what a marker for poetry, for history, for the history of beat poetry. Wow. And then one more.
It's probably the one that
Yes.
fell there.
Or the one that's disappeared completely. But it is Pablo Neruda, the next one. Pull up, please, dear Emily, the next one by Pablo Neruda, because for the poet aficionados, by the way, that was a brilliant reading.
Oh, thank you very much.
Do you
Thank
know how to really modulate and get every ounce out of the meat of a poem, especially the way you, almost like Gwendolyn Brooks, you know?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow,
That
that's
was
pretty sweet.
brilliant,
Thank you.
yeah.
So
We real cool.
Some theater school helps.
Yeah. We skip school. You know her rhythm in that poem?
I don't.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's the last line and then a pause. Oh, but she carries it over to the next line too. That was brilliant. So, Neruda, would you please read? Thank you,
Oh, yeah.
Stephen.
So this is A Dog Has Died. Or El Perro No S.
Oh, you speak Spanish, all right.
Pablo Neruda.
But, you know,
as translated by Alfred Yankauer.
so it is a translation. So it's the translator's art that we usually rely on, you know, especially we Russians, you know, because it doesn't work very well if they don't capture our essence as Russians.
Right.
In those
right. And that's why a good translator is important. A transliteration is different than a translation, and a translation always carries the voice of the translator, whether purposefully or not. Yeah. So this is as translated by Alfred Yankauer. My dog has died. I buried him in the garden next to a rusted old machine. Someday I'll join him right there, but now he's gone with his shaggy coat, his bad manners, and his cold nose. And I, the materialist who never believed in any promised heaven in the sky for any human being, I believe in a heaven I'll never enter. Yes, I believe in a heaven for all dogdom, where my dog waits for my arrival, waving his fan-like tail in friendship.
And please go on.
I'll not speak of sadness here on earth, of having lost a companion who was never servile. His friendship for me, like that of a porcupine holding its authority, was the friendship of a star, aloof, with no more intimacy than was called for, with no exaggerations. He never climbed all over my clothes, filling me full of his hair or his mange. He never rubbed up against my knee like other dogs obsessed with sex. No, my dog used to gaze at me, paying me the attention I need, the attention required.
And this, I felt, shows the range. That doesn't sound like anyone I know who has a dog, who has had a dog, who has really loved a dog deeply, because the dog really loves back instantaneously with a glance. This is a strange dog. This is a strange poet. What's going on here?
I'm thinking. So often people would comment on the relationship they observed between Saki and I, and often they would, in my view, simplistically say, "You guys love each other so much. He really loves you." This sort of thing.
How did they know that?
Just by observing the interaction.
Really?
You know, we would go for a walk every day, and half the time I would lead him, and the other half he would lead me, and we never discussed it in advance. We just somehow determined who's leading who, and that's how we went. And so students would observe that, and I would always, you know, when it felt appropriate, I'd correct them, and I'd say, "Look, he doesn't love me. Like, that's not what's happening. We have such a deep connection that he has elevated his consideration of me to a slight disdain." Right, in keeping with Katniss, you know.
Katniss.
But I didn't feel that it was love, and so in reading this, I thought this was, you know, like kind of pointing at that same thing, like that star and that aloofness. And so, you know, much of my writings on him are about that. So that really, and this is a new one to me, being a cat person. This is the sort of poem I might have skipped over. Like, all right, dog, that's probably that's not for me. Although if I'm not a people person either, so if I'm ever at somebody's house, I will definitely be where the dog or cat is, and saving that, I'll be where the books are. I won't be among the people in the house. So.
Like this dog in Neruda's poem.
Yeah,
That's hard to believe. You are a people person, gregarious, witty.
Thank you.
Sharp, bright.
Thank you.
Stunning in your spontaneity and brilliance of creativity. Wow.
There's a freedom when you learn to befriend the moment. You know,
befriending the
there
moment.
really is. You know,
The dog's in the moment.
yeah.
The cat's in the moment.
Yeah, and without arriving at the moment through a decision tree the way a Buddhist might.
Yeah.
There is only the moment, you know, for the cat and the dog. And,
Right.
you know, when I'm teaching, I'll often say, you know, you could try this with your dog. You can say, "Hey, do you want to go for a ride?" And you could picture the dog and how excited, and you go to the car and they jump in. Now that dog does not know if you're going to go a half a block to buy some milk and come home, or if you're moving to the next state, or if you're going to the veterinarian, or if you're doing a few hour drive to your in-laws' house or something. The dog is equally excited. And when you get there, if you open the dog, do you want to go for a walk? The dog is, you know, headlong into the open space where the door had been. And 1 moment later, if you say, "Do you want to go for a ride?" the dog will turn around and get in the car. You and I would have questions and arguments, and let me think about it. And if I am going to go for a ride, what do I need? Do I need to charge my phone, or can I get a snack, or am I dressed right for where we're going, or do I need to make a call? And the dog will just go. And that is somebody who has not befriended the moment, because the moment is not other than the dog knows. For us, the moment is other than our other ways of knowing. And so at best, we might befriend the moment, we might dance with the moment, but the moment is other than our ordinary, right? Oh, I think I shifted into teaching mode. Let's just return to poetry.
All right. At that note, we're down to 30 seconds, but I want to get your definition of catness. Or catitude.
Oh, catitude. Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
Somebody had a funny thing where they said, "We know the world is not flat because cats would have knocked everything off." which I thought was pretty good. That's how we know they would have knocked everything off. Well, you know, I think catness is best described by the word cat. You know, it's a suchness that is such. It's suffused with its own suchness. You know, and every cat is an individual, and we tend to see them through the lens of our own relationship. We tend to see them through the lens of other animals that we've known, and it's harder for us to see the individual. But if you're lucky enough, as many of us have, to really come to know a being, they are beings. Yeah, great teachers. They're all great teachers.
We're doing a wrap, so I'm going to stand up because I have the ability to. I'm not tethered, which is a wonderful thing. And I want to show you our ostrich giraffe camera, which is so wonderful to have because it gives me the feeling of lightness and levitation as we go off together.
Good job, Luna.
If I'm gone tomorrow and you hear this song today, just remember there is love for you in every note I play. There's an echo in the canyon, a reflection on the sound. When I'm really looking, I can hear you